You feel really productive having your special stack that you love. Nobody else understands what you're doing. And you can't move teams now because team can't work without you. So what we have been discovering is that the agent actually needs what the humans need: order. Coding agents are great and everyone loves them, but it's just pushing the bottleneck further down. And the whole industry knows and sees this, I think. We certainly feel it as well. And right now the bottleneck is, of course, the PR reviews. And then you can, of course, leverage agents to reduce toil as well. So it all sort of builds on each other.
Welcome to Ship Happens, a podcast where I sit down with some of the smartest people in the industry to talk about the skills, techniques, and mindset that helps you ship amazing software. So today I'm talking to Pia Nilsson, Senior Director of Engineering at Spotify, working on the platform developer experience, and as GM of Backstage. I used to work with Pia at Spotify, and she's one of the top of my guest lists as we started planning this session. Pia has years of experience in developer experience, strong opinions about how you scale engineering and how you condense years of learning into a product like Backstage. We have plenty of things to talk about, so I think we should just get started. And it's a big pleasure to welcome you to the show, Pia.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited.
All right. So I really want to start with just setting the stage and just talking about one of the most misunderstood ideas in tech over the last decade, which is the Spotify model. I think it was touted as like revolutionary new way of working that you invented at Spotify and use yourself. And I think everyone from McKinsey or every consultant out there has kind of like said, this is the way to work. And I've also worked in a lot of different companies where like pieces of this model has been implemented, I would say poorly, or maybe just like partially. And it usually started by just renaming teams into squads. But just like high level, what is the philosophy behind the Spotify model?
Yeah, it's certainly been misunderstood and misinterpreted a lot over the years. So the core idea is to empower people.
Yeah.
Because we really believe in the power of creative people, and people who feel ownership are going to be more creative. So there's a lot of autonomy built into the model. And that is why it's not autonomy for its sake, or for the sake of autonomy, it's for the sake of innovation.
Yeah.
And also for sort of believing in people. So there's a real sort of message of love, I would say, to human beings built into the model. That's the core of it.
Okay. But it's not all about autonomy, right? It's not like people can't just do whatever they want. Like, it's not like, yeah, we're going to just sit back or we're just going to do this thing or whatever. Like there's also accountability, responsibility, alignment, and so on.
Yes, so true. And it's not that we didn't mess it up as well. It started out, I think, really, really well in the first years before my time at Spotify. But when I joined, we were like around 1,000 to 2,000 engineers or something a long time ago. Now we're a bit larger than that. We had started to run into a bunch of challenges that I think many others do as well. So it has to do with all of this sort of, what is the impact of what we're building? So the model really tried to help people to get to the right impact through enabling them with ownership of a domain. However, as you grow, then the domains become so large, you're going to have several teams owning that huge domain.
Yeah.
And then synchronization wasn't built into the model.
Okay.
So that's sort of when it started to break down for Spotify, in my view, where the domains were so big, the company's needs were so huge. We were 50 to 100 people working on a huge problem of sort of the backend engineering, for example, improving the backend engineering for all of the thousands of developers. That's not a one team problem any longer. So then the synchronization is massively needed, and we sort of needed to add on to the model in order to enable people to also collaborate a whole lot more.
Yeah. So when you say synchronization, what does that like specifically mean in like the case of Spotify?
My manager, Tyson Singer, he calls it synchronized swimming because he wants to stir up some, annoy some folks, because
Yeah.
of course that's super silly. But it's sort of, it's very counter to us engineers who thinks we are so incredibly smart. But we also need to sort of just do the job of synchronizing teams across teams, teams of teams.
Yeah.
So, and what we really believe in there is sort of, we have used different KPI models. We use the OKRs. Right now we're using something called the company bets. And in order to make this whole thing work, as the whole R&D to actually work effectively synchronized as much as possible when you're several thousands of people, it has to start at the top. So what the leadership at Spotify did, I would say 3 years ago now, they collapsed all of the leadership teams at the highest level into one team of 18 people-ish, which is pretty cool. So,
Yeah.
and they meet 3 hours a week. So you can imagine that kind of time for that level of leader is pretty massive. And what happens since then is sort of the clarity cascades down, and so much work is just clarified, maybe never done,
Yeah.
because it's not prioritized. And now we know, because those two leads have the same priority list. There's just one, and it's called the company bet list.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of work going into that, a great planning team, of course. But really, it starts at the top. It's really quite simple, But to pull it off with several thousands of people, then that's a bit of a challenge, of course. But that's how it starts, and then it trickles down. And then you can really have teams that own something particular that is actually prioritized and staffed. And they can then feel ownership, and the innovation can start. So in my view, sort of top-downing this a little bit actually created far more empowerment.
Yeah.
In where I sit, where the teams that I can see, they know they work on something really important. They know they're going to be prioritized and ship at a certain date. So then the creativity really is triggered.
Yeah, and I guess that's it's funny how you describe it here. Actually, taking a top-down approach really goes against everything like a lot of people have publicly said about the Spotify model. It is actually a lot of like top-down control that sets the stage for how do you focus, and you're focusing on the right thing, and then you're free to make the right decisions within that sphere you kind of own, right?
Yeah, and then one question I think that comes is sort of, well, will it only be prioritized by the business needs? What about the platform needs? But I think we're going to get ourselves into that soon.
Yeah. I was about to ask, like you're sitting in the platform organization, right? There's and I know from my time as Spotify, there goes a lot of work into a platform to enable this type of work. So Chip, let's dive into that really. Like, what are your key levers as like a platform organization to really enable how like people at Spotify work?
Oh, we have a lot of sort of we have a lot of help from leadership being very technical at Spotify.
Yeah.
So the key thing for us is to enable to translate what we're doing on the platform level into understandable KPIs at the top level.
Yeah.
So we're talking about sort of developer effectiveness, of course, in with the DORA metrics, but also some other metrics that we are leaning on quite a bit. Mean time to change, for example, that is one of our favorite metrics, but because we want to sort of, that speaks clearly to leadership, something they really care about. And then we can also show, did this initiative that we ran actually improve it?
Yeah.
We can also hold ourselves accountable, which is incredibly powerful, of course, building a lot of trust. So I think it's a lot about sort of translating our work into understandable KPIs that aren't at the aggregate level, that you can't see any difference regardless of what you're doing almost. They need to be at a low enough level so that you can actually see the difference for a platform initiative.
And so I think how has, like, what is the most important things you've done to kind of see that? What's been the most effectful things you've done as a platform over the years? Like, what is you probably tried a bunch of stuff that like meh, kind of meh, but like, what's your like greatest hits of like platform engineering that really made a difference?
Oh wow! So I think we ran into this massive problem back in 2017, where we were still hiring very rapidly, and we were slowing down. We could see that in our metrics that we were actually slowing down. The onboarding time for a Spotify engineer was over 60 days.
Oh, right, yeah.
And we had the target of being 20 days. So we were no way near, and we were going the wrong way as well. So we were like super worried the more people we were hiring, actually the slower we become, which is like terrifying, of course, because we really needed to hire those people. So that was a clear and exact enough metric to reason around for leadership as well as for us. So we could really try stuff out to improve it. So sort of out of that came a whole bunch of things that I'm super proud of being part of creating. One is, of course, unifying all of the tools and stuff behind our developer portal Backstage. That really speeding folks up hugely. The other thing is we finally took the step in our very autonomous engineering culture to set our foot down and like, we're gonna have standards. And you, Per, you were there when we created all of these golden tracks.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of conversations with the engineering population, of course, because we really care about what they think should be golden as a golden standard for backend. What should a backend service look like?
Did you meet pushback on this like standard thing of developers feeling they couldn't be creative anymore, or like?
Yeah, and there was that, which was super important, and there were also the tabs versus spaces kind of conversations. So there were so many, like a range of, especially Spotify engineers at least, did not want to have any kind of autonomy pulled out of their under them. So they really fought this for some time, but then we could really share metrics and people really relate to. No, everyone wants to do good. They were all good citizens. And when they could see, we're slowing down, folks. This isn't working. Yes, you feel really productive having your special stack that you love. Nobody else understands what you're doing. And you can't move teams now because team can't work without you. No. So it's sort of, we had so many examples of this is not effective people. So we kind of over time won them over, all of them. And sort of now we have, and you know this so well, Per, we like over the years, we are now at the 75-ish golden state hit rate that we're striving for all the time. So standardization, I think, is the second or Backstage, as in unifying the whole ecosystem. And then standardization is through golden states, we call them, and golden tracks and golden paths and everything golden. Yeah. But that's, I think, is a huge impact that the platform had for Spotify as well. Yeah. And then I think removing toil is also very important. Not just, guard railing with standards, but you need to remove that toil, as so many of people are saying in the industry right now. And it's the fragmentation of all of the solutions makes it pretty difficult to remove all of that toil. It also makes it pretty difficult for agents to reason without hallucinating. If you have so many different versions of a solution, what is the agent going to do? So what we have been discovering is that the agent actually needs what the humans need: order, in order to go fast and not be incorrect. So standards really help humans and agents. And then reducing the toil is possible in an automated fashion if you have the standards. So it's really building on each other. And then you can, of course, leverage agents to reduce toil as well. So it all sort of builds on each other. But we built this thing called fleet management, where we really removed a bunch of toil for. So today, which is like bot generated code. So all of our security updates and all of our version upgrades and all of the lower level tasks that engineers hate doing because they're pushed onto them basically.
Yeah.
That is being done by our bots since, I don't know, 2.5 years back.
Yeah.
So 50% of all written code at Spotify is already bot generated, which is like, I think that should be up there on the top 3.
That is also, I think that is like, go for it.
Sorry, I just wanted to really talk about the human aspect because it's such a big, important thing to really strive for, which is innovation. Everyone needs innovation. How do we help people to innovate? Also to innovate about the right things.
Yeah.
So it has to do with transparency culture that I was talking about before. That's key because you need the people to innovate about the right problems.
Yeah.
And then you need the standards so that the innovation not just creates more fragmentation. And then you need to remove that toil so that people actually have some time. But that's not enough. People might just be good citizens and work hard and never have time to really innovate because there's so much work to do all the time. Yeah. Everyone knows that. So one has to really help them put the time on the calendar to innovate, which is, of course, what hack weeks and hack days are for. So we have the yearly hack week, which is like holy at Spotify. We are ordered to hack, all of us, including myself and my VP. They're all hacking 1 week. It's incredible, actually. But that's just once a year. And then we have quarterly hack weeks for all of the sort of 40 people-ish orgs. And those are, of course, I think the most valuable things that I see that actually translate immediately to fantastic product features are coming from those hack weeks. Because then, you're going to work on something that is on your mind, and the next hack week is just a few months out. So it's going to be something really fresh and something really relevant, and then you're going to work on it. You're going to be able to put that inside of the product you are working on anyway. So it's really a virtuous spiral, I think.
I also remember from the time, I think one of my favorite features in the player came from a hack week. I think it was what's called daylist now, which is like these like auto-generated ones. And I think I use it every day. Just like putting on a daylist that just matches whatever I'm used to listening to. So I think it's a lot of pieces here. I'm just trying to summarize here. You have standards and golden paths in place that really takes the thinking about like what is the fundamental infrastructure that people use for the different things, and you remove a lot of the toil by using fleet management, and then you really create space for innovation because you don't have to think about these things. That's really a commodity, and you also dedicate a lot of time to just like do other things than in your normal day-to-day job. And I think also like one thing that you haven't really talked about here is like Spotify is working at tremendous scale. So I think just the economics of scale, that you have tens and thousands of services that just gets updated every day and just gets their security patches and no one really needs to do anything, is already like, that's a tremendous amount of like developer hours. And I guess it also sets you up for success in like adopting AI agents at a bigger scale than a lot of other companies who don't have all these things already. Like you have the fundamentals in place to really do this at a faster rate than a lot of other companies.
So, that's true.
Yeah.
Did you want me to chime on to that?
Please do.
I think it's very true. And I think the research mentality really helps us. It comes from the autonomous culture and the passion for the domain. Yeah. And so the research mentality is really helping us a lot as well in this AI era. Sort of assessing for example, the AI IDEs.
Yeah.
Which one should we pick? Should we pick them all? For which use case? So we run sort of trials and we have our developer experience and developer effectiveness metrics. So we actually see what mattered for our productivity. Okay. What helped, really helped. And that's just so exciting to learn for all of us, I think. So we constantly sort of keep learning about, well, how should we develop code now? It's going to change every month at least in these times, certainly.
Yeah. So you actually been trying out different AI agents with different teams and just seeing the impact. So you actually have numbers, you have receipts on actually what works.
Yes, we do. And that, I just took the example of IDEs, but we of course have done the same for coding agents and for agent builders and for a few other things as well.
Yeah. So again, another advantage of just doing all this work that kind of like in this age seemed kind of boring, where people are just like shoveling AI into an organization and hoping for the best. You actually know what actually works.
Yes, so I think, we do. It's super exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. So I think just one last question on like your culture, which I want to start talking a little bit about Backstage and the open sourcing of. But I think just like when you think about this culture and all the things you just mentioned, is it really possible to adopt the, you say, Spotify model or the culture without, the platform practices and all that hard work you're talking about enabling this? Is it even possible to do?
Well, I really think so. Yeah. I really do. Because it's not about having, it wasn't like we were so perfect. No. So we were a complete mess. Lovingly, I'm saying this. Fun, creative chaos back in 2017. And so adopting the Spotify engineering approach, and to some extent maybe culture, is simply following a few principles. And I think most people can do that if they want to. So those principles are making the right thing the easy thing.
Yeah.
So that is sort of talking to the standardization. So we can't just go ahead and top down say you're gonna now build backend services like this. You gotta make it attractive, and also so that at Spotify it was really healthy for us that the engineering org wasn't a captive audience. If you see what I'm saying, we couldn't force our solutions on them. We had to make them better, so that they were the ones people preferred. Maybe not everyone can get there, but it was very helpful as a sort of a principle. And then another principle I wanted to, I already touched on, sort of, is taking the pain, we call it. So then that is reducing the toil. So how we can do, companies can do that in very many ways, Yeah. And then finally, you can, of course, make it to actually automate a bunch of changes. But there are many steps before that is going to be super helpful for everyone, I think. And I think the last principle also builds on this, and it's like move up the stack.
Okay.
You got to constantly try to move your teams up by keeping them excited about the future. Focusing forward is moving up the stack. It will move them up the stack.
Yeah.
I think that is very inspiring and engaging for teams. So one has to figure out a way to reward that behavior.
Yeah. And are you thinking about this specifically in AI adoption, or is more general just like you as a platform team is really one of your core jobs is to really move people up the stack and keep them interested in new technology so they don't just get stuck in their ways? Or
exactly. I think it was very relevant before AI, but now it is sort of a must for people to welcome the changes coming our way, so that we can figure out, well, how do we help our companies now? And that is exciting to me.
Yeah, that's exciting. All right, so I think with that, let's talk about Backstage. Again, from my experience at Spotify, like the internal engineering platform you had at the time, which I think is mostly what people can get from Backstage now, is like I'd never seen anything like it. It was just like, this is like an amazing experience to even like come in as a new person in the organization. You just very quickly knew where everything was, and I think your point about the onboarding time going drastically down, I see that's a very big part of it. So I think maybe let's talk a little bit about Backstage. What does it do? Like, it's an internal portal that really shows engineers where's all the documentation, here's all the services, here's the data, and a bunch of other. You have a bunch of internal tools as well, like for experimentation and your AI agent, and well, a bunch of other things. Maybe we can dive a little bit into that as well. Like, but I think if you from like as the owner of Backstage, you would say like, what is, like, you talk about mean time to change. Is that your North Star, what you want to do with Backstage?
Great question. I think just placing Backstage in the DevX ecosystem, it sort of solves the problem of synchronized swimming in so many different levels. So you gotta transparently share, what are we doing, what are we as a company. Yeah, that's where you need something like Backstage. It's super powerful. Then there is, of course, a lot of actions that you can be tying into all of the plugins, as we call them, inside of Backstage. Yeah. And then all of those actions will, of course, be the right actions, the approved ones from the platform organizations, which is, again, super powerful, because otherwise, without this single pane of glass, you would have 20 different solutions or actions to solve the same problem. I think it's just impossible to synchronize if it's not visually visible someplace. Now, this is very important for sort of the synchronized swimming. And I started saying this because there is this bigger picture as well that I wanted to share with you. At Spotify, we don't think engineers and dev teams only should be in Backstage. Backstage is one developer surface, which is super important for the synchronized swimming use case. But in order to, like, what should a great developer experience look like? Well, actually, we believe there are several different developer surfaces that the Backstage ecosystem needs to power. And with what? With context. Yeah. Because at the heart of it, Backstage is context, right? It's documentation. It's the catalog metadata. It's what you call what, which is incredibly important. Is this data set critical, business critical, or is it an experimentation or experimental? Those are the things that are business critical to know and to have someone accountable for. And all of that is stored. That is sort of the gold in Backstage, which is, of course, the AI fancy word context. So Backstage Heart needs to power up these other developer surfaces, which is, of course, the AI IDE, or whatever IDE one prefers, needs to have an MCP out of the Backstage MCP, powering it, so that when you vibe code your next backend service, it's according to your company's standard. And that's all possible, of course, if you have that using that MCP. That's at least how we believe one should work. So that's one developer surface. Another developer surface is the CLI. So I think it's going to come more and more over the years, as we're seeing some AI vendors are super powerful, like Claude. People really love working through a CLI. So this is it has always been a very important interface for developers, and it will just become even more important probably, as sort of prompt-based engineering is in the future for us here. So that's another other, and then there are a few more, like Slack is very important for us, for example, and then Backstage as a fourth developer surface. Yeah.
So I think with agents and people getting used to chat and so on, and the CLI again, like it's kind of funny. We're moving back to this like kind of retro. We're moving a little bit away from the rich interfaces and like back into the terminal window. And so do you feel that this is where, like, you can say developer experience might be more of in the future, whereas before we really needed like a rich interface to explain how is this service performing, are we doing the right things and so on, but just now you have kind of AI as a between layer that can really like get that context and explain it to you or use it with something else. So is developer experience moving more into that direction again instead of having these rich interfaces?
I mean, to some extent, I think it is. Yeah. We are measuring this on a week-by-week basis to learn what actually is effective for us. Yeah. So I think the true answer here is to be recognizing we are on a learning journey here for maybe forever.
Yeah.
So what we know from now, by now, is that we actually have there's a very big use case still for the Backstage as a web UI. But as I was saying, the heart of it is the knowledge and the decisions, for the company decisions on our components. Yeah. Those are incredibly important, and that's what really matters. No, regardless of where AI takes us. Then the surfaces, they are gonna change over time. Right now, for us, we do see a lot of people going to Backstage still, the UI, and we don't see any kind of drop in that. So we lack the data point that you're referring to, but we are also thinking it will have an impact soon.
Yeah.
What we're seeing is people really need the not sort of the hallucinated graphs maybe from some coding agent, which might be right or might not be right. If they want to see the AI costs, for example, one of the things that people are looking at pretty much in the industry right now, they probably want to go into the cost insights plugin where the team has consolidated the data so that they know I'm comparing apples to apples here.
Yeah.
However, you can of course ask through your MCP, Backstage MCP, you can ask that plugin for that same data. Well, what will it do to it in between there? Sort of, how can you trust it? So that's, I think there's a lot. We're, for example, leveraging the coding agents best of breed. We're using all of them to compare them to each other. Yeah. And we're finding a lot of success in that. So there are going to be different use cases where we leverage the LLMs more and more. And soon we're going to figure out, like, how do we leverage them for the UI as well?
Yeah.
We'll have to stay tuned and learn.
Yeah. But right now, it's so again, just to reiterate your point here, is like the key feature here is really the data and the context, and that that allows to actually build new experiences that's actually stable and actually works and actually gives you correct data. So, so I wanted to also like Backstage is open source, and I just wanted to like talk a little bit briefly about like that, because like now we've been talking about is a key part of how you kind of implemented your culture as a platform product, and it feels like very much like your secret sauce, but then you went ahead and gave it away as open source. Like, just tell me a little bit about that, why that came to be.
So we're huge open source enthusiasts. I think that's where it started, and then on top of that, we were having such internal success back in 2018 or something with Backstage that we started thinking about how to protect it as well from a migration. And it started to, we were absolutely depending on Backstage for all of our internal products and all of our engineers. So it was tier 1 service, we call it, and the business critical. So if it's down, we can't ship any code at Spotify, which is as tier 1 as it gets, basically. So from that standpoint, we started to think about how to protect it, and we figured, well, why not go the Kubernetes path?
Yeah.
Because we had ourselves just migrated from our also open sourced orchestration tool Helios to Kubernetes. They were actually launched on the same day.
Yeah.
And then the Kubernetes took off and we had to migrate to it. Of course, we did so. That was our own infrastructural team's decision to do so because it made sense, but it was super painful. And we didn't want to repeat that experience. So we figured we have a great track to follow here. We should just do what Kubernetes did and make Backstage the #1 IDP in the world. This should be the standard, and we'll see where that takes us. So
yeah,
I think that was sort of the starting point of it.
Okay, and then you also just received an award for this the other day. So I think you're on the right track here, right? So yeah, congratulations for that. So
thank you.
But now it's also a commercial venture. It's not just the open source one. And so, like, did you know from the start you want to be commercial, or was more like, let's open source and see what happens, and then that came later?
I kind of want to say a little bit of both. I think at the time we definitely aimed for, like, we needed to be the number one IDP or developer portal in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so commercialization wasn't far away, but we focused on massive scale and adoption in the beginning, because that was a real business target for us. And then sort of out of that grew, people were, of course, coming to us like, please, can you maintain this for us? Please, can you sell us your 200 plus plugins? Because we don't want to build them. Yeah. We can pay, just start selling them, please. So that sort of came pretty quickly as the next step.
Yeah, so you just got very clear signals from people who would like to pay you for this, and then that became like a natural thing. And so maybe something that's not so natural a thing is like a platform team all of a sudden becoming like a commercial venture. I'm guessing there's been like some challenges in getting to that point of like thinking commercially instead of thinking as a platform team.
Yeah, it has been. And maybe surprisingly so. Yeah. Because the platform teams are often super sort of passionate and proud to ship the best of breed they can ever do, which is best of breed, building on the giants, all of this. And still, there was still a bit of a challenge sometimes to sort of transform a team to look at, yes, you're dog fooding your product on Spotify and learning about the problem with Spotify. But that next step then is to sell it to the world. Yeah, I find it so inspiring and fun, and such a healthy way to build products. I can't believe it almost. We're so lucky. But I guess it is challenging for people to have several key stakeholders to juggle at the same time. So, of course, it adds complexity in when you have the internal customer, Spotify, and 50 commercial customers who are all asking for a bunch of different things. There is this natural increase of complexity for primarily the product manager of the domain, of course, what to prioritize.
Yeah, so all of a sudden, just instead of just prioritizing internal Spotify needs, all of a sudden you have a bunch of customers who might. Is it very different what customers want versus what you want? I guess like you as a company is like a lot more mature than a lot of these companies and so on. But like, is it that different? Like what customers want compared to what you need?
Really not. It's more about the sequencing, as exactly what you're saying. Yeah. There are some few scenarios, of course, or examples, I mean, where customers have been asking for some certain sort of skill exchange features that we ourselves never needed. So we built them for them. But that's sort of the rare case. Okay. The more common case is we have this huge problem internally because we're leveraging at scale and we have all of these AI tools around us, and we're basically leveraging everything there is to leverage in the world. We have it. Yeah. So we're running into these problems pretty early, and we need to solve for them inside of the platform mission for Spotify's sake. And then we kind of need to explain this problem for the customers that, yes, you're going to run into this eventually. Had you gone down our path to try it all, this is what we recommend. So sort of that's the path I'm seeing us tread most often, actually.
Okay. All right. So looking a little bit ahead, or I guess it's not even, it's the presence, like talking about AI and Backstage and the Spotify model and so on. Like AI has been a big change for our companies, and they see like things rapidly changing. Some developers feel like their field is like entirely new. It's not what they remember. They remember just being able to write code and so on. But as we already talked about a little bit, like a lot of your, like half of your PRs is already managed by fleet management. You have a high degree of automation, and you already started like trialing a lot of different AI agents and tools and so on. And also I read the other day that you are like very far actually on what you feel like AI adoption. I guess in the grand scheme of things, maybe we're only just getting started, but like your organization already like is jumping right in, and you feel like you can do that confidently with the systems and so on that you have in place. So I feel like you already touched on this a little bit, but what I see from AI adoption across a lot of companies, that they jump head into the tool itself. And they might not have the maturity as a company, especially around data and so on, that really requires like a lot of, you can say, governance and rules and so on and processes to really take full advantage of AI. So again, I think you're very biased. You have a clear opinion here, but does like having a platform like you do and the access to data and monitoring and so on enable AI in these engineering organizations?
It certainly does.
Yeah.
This is super cool, and this is where I think engineering is really heading. I mean,
Yeah.
we're certainly there, and needs to move further, of course, along that path. But that's exactly where engineering is heading. So what we're talking about internally, for example, at Spotify, is engineers are from sort of managing components, they are managing fleets. And from managing fleets, they are orchestrating fleets. So we are becoming orchestrators of the fleet. That is what sort of the engineering work that we see for ourselves. That's how it's changing. In order to leverage the AI coding agents, for example, we use a lot of Claude, and we use trialing on Codex, and we are using Cursor, of course, and whatnot. So in order to leverage them safely and securely and effectively, we need them to adhere to standards. So one of the things we're looking into a lot right now is how do we supply the rules and skills, as the industry is now aligning on skills for the how to actually solve a problem.
Yeah.
How do we distribute that to the local development environment? So that is the problem, sort of where we are at right now. Like, we have it centralized already. So that is the first step, of course, to centralize all your MCPs, centralize all of your rules, then centralize all of your skills, and have them sort of build a system so that you can add rules, skills, MCPs, and they are aggregated into your component library on the fly. So the second problem is, how do we then push that out to the developer who is working locally, of course, because that's the most effective way to work. So sort of those are super interesting, I think, challenges that we are looking at right now. And for that, you need the platform centralization, and you need the empowered decentralization as well.
Yeah. And so also, I think when we're talking about, especially coding agents is the thing right now, because that's the use case we really determine is like that's effective, that works. So production of code has really gone down. It's much faster to produce the code, but then what a lot of companies are seeing is that they have bottlenecks further down the system of just like validating, reviewing, observability, and making sure that they actually deploy something that's solid. Is this a pain you feel as well, or is this also your system kind of remediating that pain?
Oh, we feel it. Well, coding agents are great, and everyone loves them, but it's just pushing the bottleneck further down. And the whole industry knows and sees this, I think. We certainly feel it as well. And right now, the bottleneck is, of course, the PR reviews, or the review of whatever code practice you use. So we are using PRs, and we have a review bottleneck. So there, of course, there are a bunch of AI tools that we can leverage. So we're trialing three of them out right now,
Okay.
as well as building on open source ourselves to try to see sort of which one of these three approaches actually is most beneficial for Spotify.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's super cool. So the bottleneck just keeps being pushed.
Okay.
And I think, I mean, it goes without saying, but of course, the obvious next bottleneck for the entire world is in operations.
Yeah. Is this something you're seeing already, or is the PR bottleneck kind of keeping that at bay? So you kind of have a natural slowdown in your PRs, and then you're not really feeling that on the ops level yet.
We're not feeling the bottleneck in vulnerabilities, etc., coming out to the production, as in the scale of them. Yeah. No, because the bottleneck takes care of that, and the bottleneck is review right now.
Yeah.
But then we're already in production. We're, of course, just like many companies are seeing the increase of possibly vulnerable code entering into our production environment.
Yeah.
Now we have guardrails for that. Thank God, we have standards, but we do see an uptick in us catching these things, more of them now with all of these this cursor and Claude Code generated PRs.
Okay. Oh, so there's actually like a decrease in quality from these coding agents that then affects the system further down, like they introduce more vulnerabilities.
For sure, they could build without using the standards, bypass a few things, but we do catch them before they go to production.
Okay.
Which is super cool, and that's of course thanks to our standards. Again, back to the basics. What helps human helps agents as well. So, but there is an uptick in, of course, more code, more incidents in a sense.
Of course.
So I think one of the things also for the industry that we're definitely going to talk about more is, well, testing becomes absolutely critical, right? Because in order to solve the PR review bottleneck, you want the bot to review itself.
Yeah.
How is it going to do that? Well, of course, it's going to use tests. And some engineers don't write tests.
Most dislike writing tests. That's very true. Yeah. So there might be a future where we get tests from the AI as well to validate itself, or maybe it's just easier ways of writing tests. So I'm just looking at the clock, and I think we're nearly running out of time. So I just want to bring all this together, also with respect for your schedule and so on. So the Spotify culture and your like internal platform work, we have the AI component in it as well, and like. So Backstage, like from the outside part, is really the distillation of like Spotify's greatest hits of developer experience so far. I'm sure you have much more coming. But looking a little bit ahead, like what are you most excited about bringing from the inside of Spotify out to like a wider audience in the future?
Well, I'm most excited about solving platform engineering problems together with our customers or for our customers, because they are the same. It's super, super cool to unite sort of all of our platform organizations over the world, sort of. So I'm really excited about that. And the thing that I'm really looking at right now, together with the team, is shipping our fleet management, AI-powered fleet management, I should say. So actually leveraging whichever code agent you may have already, just like we are, through the fleet management orchestration system, safely deploy changes across your entire fleet. So we're shipping that in our portal, which is the Backstage SaaS version. And I think that's going to really matter to customers. Yeah,
I've seeing it from at the time, seeing it from the inside and without all the AI things in there. I think I was deeply envious. I think I just came from Zalando at that time, dealing with Log4j, and I think when I heard, oh yeah, Log4j, we dealt with that like in a day, and I just spent 6 weeks at Zalando trying to make sense of it. So that's of course just from the specific security perspective, but I think it's a very impressive feat of just scaling engineering and removing toil. So I can understand why you're excited about that. So I think to wrap up, anything you want to recommend our dear listeners to, and we'll make sure to put all the links and so on in the show notes. Anything you want to recommend?
Oh, I love to. Please have a listen to the Nerd Out episode. That's a podcast from Spotify Engineering Leadership. So the Zolo, we call him, Dave Solotowski, and you know him so well.
Yep.
Is the host. He's great, and he's always having some really cool people on that he's interviewing. And the one that I really want to push for is I think the latest one, which is called something Ship Happens or something as well. Good name. But this is one episode only, and it's about AI fleet management.
Yeah.
That we're shipping. So that's going to be pretty cool for people to hear what we are doing internally. And the other thing I think really that is powerful inside of Spotify that can help customers also think through AI is Steve Yegi's many posts. I think just reading his sort of levels of maturity for AI is helpful. And thinking about sort of the 8 versions of like how many Claudes can you run simultaneously, slotting yourself into which one am I? Am I a 7 or a 6? Or on this how many Claudes I can run? So I think he has been really inspiring for us because he's really pushing the envelope on how to think about AI. And also he has some phases going on. So I think that makes sense to read up on. Last one I wanted to really push for is Brené Brown. I think she keeps being very relevant for our industry.
Yeah.
And now more than ever with AI, we need to think about the people in order to not go back into some kind of place where we let fear rule. Instead, we should sort of welcome change. And she's doing that in a very grounded, not superficial way, which I really respect. So I think I want to just push a little for her Strong Ground podcast.
Yeah.
Whatever book from her you can read, it's going to bring value to you, I believe.
That's an amazing set of recommendations, and also a good, diverse set of recommendations as well. So I think something in every kind of medium. Thank you so much for this conversation, Pia. I really enjoyed talking to you. And so this is the wrap for today. And I think as an outro, as always, this show is brought to you by Docker, the open platform for building, shipping, and running apps. So thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time.